They say once Maz sets his gaze on you, it's already too late. You won't recall agreeing. You won't remember following him. Yet somehow you wake up behind his gates, draped in the garb of his bride. Under his roof, 50 young wives already dwell, each once as free as you. Some laughed at him, some tried to flee, but none escaped. Because when Maz wants you, he takes you. Applause. Music. In the heart of Yumo village, whispers always floated through the air. Whispers about Mazi, the man nobody dared challenge. He wasn't merely old, his spirit was ancient. His eyes held a darkness deeper than midnight itself. Some called him Dibia, others Akumo, the great spirit, but all feared him. Mazi's power didn't come from his walking stick or his thunderous voice. It was in his gaze. Those eyes could strip you bare, crawl into your mind, and claim whatever they desired. And what he desired was beauty. Over 50 young wives, radiant and lively once, had been drawn into shadows within his sprawling compound. It didn't matter if you were a farmer's daughter, a trader's niece, or a government worker sent from the city. If Maz's eyes found you, you belonged to him. Even girls from New York weren't safe. That year, 2 new teachers arrived in Yumo. Pecky and Bella, city girls with city dreams, assigned to the local secondary school. They rented a small apartment at the village edge, where the forest whispered at night, and the air felt heavier than it should. From the start, they despised the place, the eerie silences, villagers falling quiet as they passed, and the old warnings about never meeting Maz's gaze. But they were too modern, too skeptical, to believe in village superstitions. One scorching afternoon, as they walked back from the market with plastic bags heavy in their hands, laughter spilling from their lips, he appeared. Maz stood in the middle of the road as if waiting for them. His tall frame wrapped in a red wrapper, cowrie beads jingling on his wrists, eyes sharp and glinting as they slowly roamed over the 2 women. "I like both of you," he said, his voice rolling like slow thunder. "You will be my wives." They burst into laughter. "Are you serious, old man? Do we look like village grandmothers? We could be your daughters." Bella shook her head. "Go find your mate somewhere else and leave us alone." They tried to pass him, still laughing, but then he looked at them. Not just looked, he penetrated them. A sudden cold wind seemed to pierce their bones. Their laughter died. The air thickened. Their arms went limp. Market bags slipped from their grasp. "Follow me," Maz whispered. Without a word, without understanding why, Pecky and Bella turned and walked behind him, steps slow, eyes hollow. That night, the village murmured quietly. 2 more young brides had entered Mazi's compound. The old man's charm worked flawlessly. Yumo was no longer a quiet village, it had become a cage. Women no longer laughed freely by the stream. Men no longer sang on the way back from the farm. Even the air seemed heavy, as if the entire community were submerged underwater. At the center of it all was Mazi. Each month, another beautiful girl disappeared into his compound. Sometimes a farmer's daughter, sometimes a schoolteacher, sometimes a stranger passing through. One moment, she was full of life. The next, she walked into his home with glassy eyes, never to return. Villagers whispered in terror. "Do you know they sent 3 powerful divas from across the river to challenge him?" None returned. One was found floating in the stream, his body covered in strange markings. The other 2 vanished completely. Even the king, once proud and able to summon warriors with a clap, now avoided Mazi's path. Rumor said the old native doctor could teleport anywhere, crossing oceans in the blink of an eye. How do you fight a man who can vanish at will? But Mazi's power wasn't only magic. He possessed more wealth than anyone in Yumo could ever imagine. Rumors said he didn't just earn his fortune. He stole the very destinies of others, siphoning their success to feed his own life force. Young men would return from the city brimming with promise, but after a single visit to the village, they would leave nothing but ragged clothes and empty hands. Meanwhile, the old man's estate expanded, his coffers overflowing, his skin flawless, as if even time itself dared not touch him. "I will never die," Mazes boasted one evening, his voice echoing through the courtyard as he spoke to his wives. "I will live forever. My name will never fade." Some of his children roamed the village like untouchable princes and princesses, arrogant and feared. At night, dark men, murderers, thieves, schemers, would quietly come to him seeking aid. and they always left with their desires fulfilled, but at a cost far worse than they imagined. The village itself decayed under his shadow. Hunger gnawed at families, livestock died mysteriously, and crops withered for no reason. The once bustling market now closed early. Fear kept people from lingering after sunset. In the king's palace, the monarch sat uneasily on his throne, staring at the flickering oil lamp. Sleep had long abandoned him, leaving hollow eyes and a heavy heart. "What more can we do?" he murmured to his chiefs. "This man has consumed the soul of our land. If we do nothing, Yuma will perish." But deep in the darkness, an old prophecy stirred. A whisper that Maziz's reign would end. Not by the hand of a king, nor by the staff of a dibia, but by someone he least expected. By now, Maziz's power felt untouchable, a shadow stretching across every corner of Yumo. He moved with the arrogance of a man who believed even death itself could not reach him. Girls still vanished. Wives wandered the village like empty shells. Those who laughed at his proposals paid the same price. They became his, willingly or not. Until the day he met Amara. It was late afternoon, the sun dripping gold over the dusty road. Amara, a radiant 19-year-old, was returning from the farm. Her mother had sent her with food for her father. She carried herself with the quiet dignity of someone raised with respect. Amara had never lived in Yumo. Her childhood was spent 2 villages away with her mother's sister, a devout woman who enveloped her life with fasting and midnight prayers. Unbeknownst to Amara, her name was a constant presence on her aunt's altar. As she saw the tall, red-cloaked figure of Mazes approaching, Amara greeted him politely, her voice soft. "Good evening, sir." She stepped to pass, but his voice stopped her. "You are such a beautiful girl. What is your name?" "My name is Amara. How can I help you?" He smiled faintly, eyes glinting. "I want to marry you." Confusion flickered across her face. I don't understand, sir." "What is there not to understand, young girl? I said I will marry you. You're too beautiful to belong to anyone else." Amara's polite smile faltered. Something about him unsettled her. "I'm sorry, sir, but I must leave." She stepped back. And then it happened. The stare, the same gaze that had enslaved countless women, locked onto hers. His voice came low, commanding, "Follow me." But nothing happened. Her body did not freeze. Her mind did not blur. His charm slid off her like water over polished stone. Mazes's lips parted slightly. For the first time in years, his power had met resistance. Amara turned and ran. Her sandals slapped against the dusty road until she vanished into the trees. He remained for a moment, the air around him heavy. Then his expression hardened. If the road could not bring her, the night would. That evening, he locked himself inside his shrine. The air was thick with the smell of blood and burning herbs. Strange symbols were drawn on the floor as he chanted words older than the village itself. Candles flickered. Cowrie shells moved on their own. By force, the spirit of Amara was summoned. Somewhere in her small room, Amara's eyes snapped open in the dead of night. Barefoot, guided by instinct, she moved silently through the sleeping village, straight toward Mazes's compound. When he saw her in the moonlight, his laughter was low and triumphant. "Now you are mine." He took her into his bedroom that night. By morning, panic tore through her family. Her parents searched the farm, the riverbank, the markets, nothing. Her mother, frantic with fear, wandered the streets asking everyone. Then she saw one of Mazes's wives drawing water from the well. "Have you seen my daughter Amara?" she asked desperately. The woman smiled faintly. "She's inside. She's my new co-wife." For a heartbeat, the world froze. Then Amara's mother's voice shattered the air like thunder. "That evil man has my daughter. No. I will not allow this." She wasted no time. Tying herself tight, she set out for the neighboring village to find a man she had only heard of in whispers. A man said to call down fire without matches. A man who feared no shrine. A man of God whose prayers could break charms untouched by any altar. And as she walked, the wind seemed to carry her resolve to Mazes. This time, the battle might be different. Word of Amara's abduction spread fast, whispered from trembling lips. No one dared confront Mazes. No one, that is, except Amara's mother. By sundown, She had trudged across the river path to the next village, her bare feet swollen, her heart hammering like war drums. When she finally reached the small hilltop church, she sank to her knees before the man she had come to find. Pastor Chick. People whispered that his prayers could make a python disgorge its prey. They said no dark force could endure in his presence. Man of God, she cried, her voice trembling. My daughter is trapped by a demon wearing human skin. If you don't help me, she will never return. Pastor Chick's gaze was calm, but a quiet fire burned behind his eyes. Gather your faith, woman. The God we serve fears no shrine, no demon, no darkness. That very night, he followed her back, moving silently. They made no announcement, no noise, heading straight to Maz's compound. Inside, the air was thick and heavy. Moonlight stretched crooked shadows across the walls. The wives, silent and hollow-eyed, peered from their doorways. Somewhere deep within the house, Amir sat on a mat, her eyes empty and distant. Mazi appeared from his shrine, the scent of incense clinging to his robes. His voice dripped with mockery. So the king has sent a preacher to challenge me? How foolish. Pastor Chick stepped forward, unwavering. I come not by the king's command. I come because heaven has declared your time over. Mazi laughed, but the sound faltered. Then Pastor Chick began to pray. His voice rose like a storm, words striking sharp as lightning. The ground trembled beneath them. The night wind howled through the shrine. The cursed idols cracked, their hollow eyes tumbling to the floor. Maz hurled powders into the air, muttering incantations, but each powder turned to ash before it could fall. Something unseen gripped him, bending his back, twisting his face. His wife's screams pierced the night as a dark mist erupted from his body, swirling violently before shooting skyward. Amir gasped, her eyes clearing, as though waking from a long, terrible dream. Her mother rushed to her, holding her tight, tears streaming freely. Maz stumbled to his knees, voice trembling with panic. No. I cannot die. I cannot. Thunder split the night, and before the eyes of the village, Maz collapsed face first into the dust, lifeless. By morning, word had spread to every corner of Umak. The shrines were burned. The wives, finally free, were returned to their families. The village breathed again. As for Amir, she would never forget the man who tried to steal her life, or the night heaven itself intervened on her behalf. Evil does not endure forever. No matter how powerful someone appears, especially if they harm others, their reign will ultimately crumble. Faith and courage can shatter chains. The villagers had been paralyzed by fear, but one woman's bravery to seek help, and the steadfast faith of Pastor Chick, broke Maz's grip. Spiritual protection matters. Amir's initial resistance to Maz's charm came from the prayers and safeguarding unknowingly provided by her aunt, proving the importance of being spiritually grounded. Silence within a community allows evil to thrive. The villagers' fear let Maz's terror continue for years. When people remain silent in the face of darkness, it grows stronger. Pride and arrogance lead to downfall. Maz believed himself untouchable, immortal, but his arrogance blinded him to the end that awaited. Thank you for daring to walk this haunted corner of Umak with me. Like, share, and comment your thoughts and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell. Tell me in the comments. If a man like Maz looked into your eyes, would you survive or would you follow? Bye.